YouTube. It's you guys, Sports Law, broadcasting live today, September 23rd, 2025. Today's live stream is the college football top 25 picks, my perspective for week 5 games for September 23rd through 28th of 2025. In this live stream, we will look at who is in the AP poll top 25. We will look at the top 25 matchups. We will also look at what the pros in Vegas say the point spread or margin of victory will be. The margin of victory is how many points the projected winner is expected to win by. We will also look at the over-under. The over-under is what the pros think the combined total score will be between the two teams with the game in question. If I agree or disagree with the pros, I'll do the best I can to explain my reasoning. After the top 25 analysis, we will go into a segment called the Game of Intrigue. In this game of intrigue, neither team is within the top 25. I'll find things relating to both schools, which can be sports related or not. After going over the relation thing, we will do like in the top 25 analysis, look at what Vegas says the margin of victory is, as well as the over-under. If I agree or disagree with the pros, I'll do the best I can to explain my reasoning. Note, I am aware of other polls that are used to determine championships. We will use the Associated Press poll for the purposes of this discussion, since it has been around the longest. Let's look now at who is in the AP poll this week, followed by the top 25 matchups for week 5. Can y'all hear me out there in YouTube land? Alright, so in the AP poll this week, in the top 25, you have number 1, Ohio State, number 2, Miami and Florida, number 3, Penn State, number 4, LSU, number 5, Georgia, number 6, Oregon, number 7, Oklahoma, number 8, Florida State, number 9, Texas A&M, number 10, Texas, number 11, Indiana, number 12, Texas Tech, number 13, Ole Miss, number 14, Iowa State, number 15, Tennessee, number 16, Georgia Tech, number 17, Alabama, number 18, Vanderbilt, number 19, Michigan, number 20, Missouri, number 21, USC, number 22, Notre Dame, number 23, Illinois, number 24, TCU, and number 25, BYU. All right, now let's look at who the top 25 matchups will be this week. On September 26th, 2025, you have number 8, Florida State versus Virginia, and then you have number 24, TCU versus Arizona State. All other games I'll be talking about will take place September 27th of 2025. And on September 27th, you have number 16, Georgia Tech versus Wake Forest. You have number 21, USC versus number 23, Illinois. Number 22, Notre Dame versus Arkansas. Number 18, Vanderbilt versus Utah State. Number 1, Ohio State versus Washington. Number 4, LSU versus number 13, Ole Miss. Number 9, Texas A&M versus Auburn. Number 11, Indiana versus Iowa. You have number 15, Tennessee versus Mississippi State. Number 14, Iowa State versus Arizona. Number 3, Penn State versus number 6, Oregon. Number 5, Georgia versus number 17, Alabama. Number 20, Missouri versus Massachusetts. Number 25, BYU versus Colorado. This week, number 2, Miami and Florida. Number 7, Oklahoma. Number 10, Texas. Number 12, Texas Tech. And number 19, Michigan, all have a bye week, so there's no games scheduled this week. And later on, I'll go over who the game of intrigue is. Now, let's get to the fun part of this discussion today. The first game we're going to look at today is going to be number 8, Florida State versus Virginia. This game is scheduled for Friday, September 26th, 2025. In this game, the pros in Vegas favor Florida State to defeat Virginia by 6.5 or 7 points. The over-under is 57.5 or 58. Virginia, with their game versus Stanford last week, had a slightly above-average offense on all fronts in passing and rushing. Defense looks okay, but has weak spots in red zone protection and protecting the perimeter. The lack of protection in those two areas could spell trouble for Virginia. Florida State is known for having a great defense, which showed in their game versus Florida. I believe the same trend continues this week for Florida State. Offense for Florida State is patient and can get the ball where needed. This is especially true in the rush and short pass. The long pass for Florida State needs work due to inconsistencies in the long pass. I do believe this game will be close. For these reasons, I will agree with the pros on this game. Florida State defeats Virginia by 7, and I'll go over the 58. The next game we're going to look at this week is number 24, TCU versus Arizona State. This game is scheduled for September 26, 2025. In this game, the pros favor Arizona State to defeat TCU by 2.5 or 3 points. The over-under is 54.5 or 55. Arizona State is barely average on offense, but they have issues on the medium pass and some run plays. The defense is below average due to too many points scored in the last game. This game was a struggle win. The problem is everything looked worse than what happened due to letting off the gas in the fourth quarter. Lots of teams do this for unknown reasons. Arizona State has mastered the lack of gas in the fourth quarter. This makes Arizona State way too predictable. TCU on both offense and defense is right where they need to be. This year they haven't tried deep passing as much as they normally do. This has paid off for them. Patience is a virtue, especially in football, and TCU knows how to execute it well. The rush game needs minor tweaks, but can still get things done on offense. Defense, especially with red zone protection, looks decent. I expect the up-tempo pace to resume this week for TCU. It will make it easier to keep up with. Arizona State has confidence on their side as they can read up-tempo very well. Let's see. And they can execute their own version of it. I don't think Arizona State wins the TCU. With these thoughts, I completely disagree with the pros on this one. My prediction, TCU defeats Arizona State by 4 points as an underdog. I will go over the 55. All other games we will discuss today is scheduled to take place on September 27th, 2025. Hello to you, Shuzette. Hello, how are you? I'm glad you're joining me today. Thank you for joining me. I appreciate it very much. Next game we're going to look at this week is number 16, Georgia Tech versus Wake Forest. In this game, the pros favor Georgia Tech to defeat Wake Forest by 14.5 or 15 points. The over-under is 53.5 or 54. Last week, Wake Forest had below-average performance on offense. They struggled to get things going, and their RPO practically sucks. The passing was subpar at best. The run game was okay but needs work. On defense, it was below average due to allowing so many points to be scored. Wake Forest does well when not playing conference opponents. I believe the same trend continues this week. The only saving grace for Wake Forest is the trickery that can be done that they have on special teams. Georgia Tech had an average kind of day, both on offense and defense. Minor tweaks needed, but they should be fine. Within conference play, if Georgia Tech plays average or better, it bodes well for them. I think that same trend continues this week. With these thoughts, I'm going to agree with the pros, having Georgia Tech to win this game, but I disagree on the margin of victory. My prediction, Georgia Tech wins the game by 10 points over Wake Forest. I will go over the 54. Next game we're going to look at this week will be number 21, USC versus number 23, Illinois. In this game, the pros favor USC to defeat Illinois by 6.5 or 7 points. The over-under is 61.5 or 62. Illinois indeed was overrated last week, and it showed, with Indiana giving them a major beatdown. The Illinois teams showed their true colors last week, and the football team royally sucks. In fact, the offense and defense, both on the very terrible side of things, are the epitome of sucks. Punts can help late in game to keep other team at bay. It gets a team nowhere on the field if not able to capitalize. I think Illinois struggles continue but should be better than last week. Illinois has a migraine from sucking so bad last week, and it carries over to the game this week versus USC. USC does well on offense, especially on the short passes. Long passing needs some work. Despite this, they should be fine in this game. I think between this and the rushing, it should be adequate for USC to win the game. Top all this off with good defense on all fronts, and it should be a good game. For these reasons, I will agree with the pros on this one. USC defeats Illinois by 7 points. I will go under the 62. The next game we're going to look at this week is going to be number 22, Notre Dame versus Arkansas. In this game, the pros favor Notre Dame to defeat Arkansas by 5.5 or 6 points. The over-under is 65.5 or 66. Arkansas had the worst kind of loss, a struggle loss last week, but it blows my mind that it happened against a team known for being in a weaker conference. Offense is terrible due to not running the ball well, not doing good on passing short or long, and running out of gas and running on fumes from the midway part of the third quarter till the very end of the game. Defense is downright awful with no protection of perimeter, not holding the line, and no red zone protection. Red zone protection to them is foreign, and they have no concept of what that is. The only saving grace for Arkansas might be their idea of special teams, but even then, that might be pushing the envelope. Notre Dame had a much better game last week than the previous ones. Offense looked decent on all avenues. Defense needs a little work, but should be fine overall. Notre Dame can keep it interesting if they do their thing, connecting correctly on offense or defense, and maintain possession of the football for longer periods of time. For these reasons, I'm going to agree with the pros on this one. Notre Dame defeats Arkansas by 6 points. I will go under the 66. Next game we're going to look at this week is number 18, Vanderbilt versus Utah State. In this game, Vanderbilt is favored by the pros to defeat Utah State by 22.5 or 23 points. The over-under is 59.5 or 60. Utah State within their conference is doing well on offense and defense, but does it match up with Vanderbilt? No, it does not. Utah State is in a known weaker conference, so above average Utah State within Mountain West Conference will result in poor performance against SEC schools such as Vanderbilt. Vandy has above average offense on rushing and in passing. Defense is good this year, even for Vanderbilt standards. Utah State will struggle against Vandy in a big sort of way, and they will lose the game. For this game, I will agree with the pros on this one in terms of who wins, but I disagree on the margin of victory. My prediction is that Vanderbilt wins the game by 17 points. I will go under the 60. All right, the next game we're going to look at this week is number 1, Ohio State versus Washington. In this game, the pros favor Ohio State to defeat Washington by 9.5 or 10 points. The over-under is 52.5 or 53. Washington so far this year is above average on defense due to good line, perimeter, and red zone protection. The offense is also above average due to good movement of the ball down the field in passing both long and short. Rushing isn't superb, but it gets the job done. Ohio State is doing okay on offense and defense. Their last performance showed some flaws in their system, and it looked unlike the normal Ohio State football. I think it is highly likely the struggle will continue this week for Ohio State. I do believe Ohio State will get the W this week for winning, but I'm not so sure on the margin. Washington has a secret weapon in the way they execute plays within special teams. This secret weapon will keep this game closer than most want to admit. I do agree with the pros favoring Ohio State to win this game, but I disagree on the margin of victory. My prediction is that Ohio State defeats Washington by 6 points. I'll go over the 53. The next game we're going to look at this week is number 4, LSU versus number 13, Ole Miss. In this game, the pros favor Ole Miss to defeat LSU by 1.5 or 2 points. The over-under is 55 or 56. LSU has one notable win this year over a top 25 opponent. The rest of them have seen them in mediocre or terrible teams. 10 is the common denominator, since that is the number of points scored by 3 teams they have beaten so far in this 2025 college football season. Generally, the defense is above average and usually hard to defend against. Offense has gotten better in all areas of passing, short or long, and the rush looks full of finesse and patience. Ole Miss has stellar defense, but has some issues with doing it well versus conference opponents. Offense is okay on the run and short pass plays. The long pass needs some work, but it will work fine. Since both teams have good defense, it should make for an interesting close game. For these reasons, I do believe LSU loses due to it being a matter of who has the ball at the end of the game. For these reasons, I will agree with the pros on this game. Since the margin of victory is so close, this is what most would call even or evenly matched. Ole Miss wins the game over LSU by 2 points. I will go over the 56. Next game we're going to look at this week is number 9 Texas A&M versus Auburn. In this game, the pros favor Texas A&M to defeat Auburn by 6.5 or 7 points. The over-under is 52.5 or 53. Auburn slid down to below average on offense since not doing well in protecting red zone or perimeter in defense. Offense could not get things done. Special teams did okay, but due to lack of enforcement of things going on the field for both sides, it made the game laughable. It also did not help Auburn getting sacked as many times as they did. Auburn always seems to have issues when playing Texas A&M. I believe the same continues this week. Defense for Auburn sucked badly, and they have no excuses for playing so terrible, but they do lack discipline, and it shows. Texas A&M had a struggle win against then number 8 Notre Dame, and it leads them to be below average performance in defense due to allowing way too many points to be scored. Offense did good on the pass and the rush. The performance came to whoever who had ball at the end of the game. On paper, Texas A&M is better than Auburn. For these reasons, I will agree with the pros on this game. Texas A&M wins the game by 7 points. Over Auburn, I will go over the 53. The next game we're going to look at this week is number 11, Indiana versus Iowa. In this game, the pros favor Indiana to defeat Iowa by 6.5 or 7 points. The over-under is 49.5 or 50. Iowa has below-average defense due to lack of red zone protection and lack of perimeter protection. Offense is average due to poor long pass plays, but good short pass and rush. Iowa is going to have trouble scoring against Indiana. Score they will, but I don't think Iowa is as good as Indiana. Indiana has stellar offense and defense. I believe this carries over to this game over Iowa. Special teams for both teams will keep this one close. For these reasons, I will agree with the pros on this one. Indiana defeats Iowa by 7 points. I will go over the 50. All right, let's see. All right. Next game we're going to look at this week is number 15, Tennessee versus Mississippi State. In this game, the pros favor Tennessee to defeat Mississippi State by 7.5 or 8 points. The over-under is 61.5 or 62. Mississippi State has not really played anyone tough yet, so it makes it hard to judge how this one will go. From what I've seen so far with them, it looks like they have average offense and defense. They do know how to hold the line and sometimes do well within the red zone protection on defense. Offense needs work on driving the ball down the field a little quicker. This style of play can work, but not so sure it will against Tennessee. Speaking of Tennessee, they do generally have above-average offense for executing great plays on the deep pass, short pass, and rushing. The defense is average and could be better by limiting how many points the other team scores. Outside of this, Tennessee looks better on paper than Mississippi State does. For Mississippi State, they can keep it close with good action from special teams. For these reasons, I will agree with the pros on this one. Tennessee defeats Mississippi State by 8 points. I will go under the 62. I do believe both teams will score, but I don't think both teams was going to score more than 62, and I could be wrong, but I'm sticking with my under on that one. Next game we're going to look at this week is number 14, Iowa State versus Arizona. In this game, the pros favor Iowa State to defeat Arizona by 5.5 or 6 points. The over-under is 49.5 or 50. Arizona looks to be average on all sides of the ball on offense and defense. They do need to work on getting out of the pocket quicker to get down the field quicker. Nothing much else to say on Arizona. Iowa State has below average offense due to struggling to make plays and for barely eking out wins. This struggle is real and it needs work. This the style of play may win them games, but not everyone. I think this game will be close but not go the way everyone expects. For these reasons, I will completely disagree with the pros on this game. My prediction, Arizona wins as an underdog by 3 points over Iowa State. I will go under the 50. Next game we're going to look at this week is a big one this week. Will be number 3, Penn State versus number 6, Oregon. In this game, the pros favor Penn State to defeat Oregon by 3.5 or 4 points. The over-under is 52.5 or 53. Excuse me. Penn State is known for having a great defense due to protection of the line of scrimmage, protecting the perimeter, and excellent red zone protection. They are not known for pass on offense, but when they do it well. Rushing and short passes help very well. Oregon is a well-rounded team. They are not known for rushing too much, but does superb in passing long and short. Both teams also have good strategy with their special teams. Both could easily win this game, and it may come to who has the football at the end of the game. This game has one factor that could rear its ugly head. Oregon leads in having the least penalties in a normal game, which is followed by Penn State. And it's not the number of penalties that I get concerned with, but the dead ball foul penalties. For both teams, at least 60 to 75% of the penalties they get are not during live action, but dead ball. This can be offsides, encroachment, or personal fouls. This means that both teams may or may not have good sportsmanship. I'm not saying these kind of things will happen in this game, but history does say otherwise. I do think it'll be a very close game, and to me, it's almost too close to call effectively. With these thoughts, however, I will agree with the pros on this game. Penn State will defeat Oregon by 4 points, and I'll go under the 53. Next game we're going to look at today is number 5, Georgia versus number 17, Alabama. In this game, the pros favor Georgia to defeat Alabama by 2.5 or 3 points. The over-under is 52.5 or 53. Alabama in their last game played average on both offense and defense. For the first half of the game, it seemed to be a struggle, but it was overcome in the second half. Alabama's not playing with the intensity that has been known for years. They have a tough schedule, and this will be their first real test for them. Offense may struggle for a bit on the long passing, but can make up for it in the rush and short passing. Defense needs to do better protecting the red zone. Georgia's also struggling in ways not seen in quite some time on offense. They did execute runs in short to medium passing well, but not the long pass. The struggle puts Georgia offense at below average. Defense is working on all cylinders, but still falls short of average due to barely winning the game. It turns out to be a defensive struggle that sent the game to overtime. I believe both teams are suffering from the struggle and can't seem to shake it off. The question is, who handles it better? A very good question indeed. I think both teams are and can be very good. I don't think Georgia will succeed this go-around. For these reasons, I will completely disagree with the pros on this one. Alabama will win this game as an underdog to Georgia by 4 points, and I'll go over the 53. Next game we're going to look at this week is number 20, Missouri versus Massachusetts. Massachusetts is not doing well as a football program. Looking at their style of football, offense can't get anything done. They lose more yards than gain, plus they commit numerous penalties. The defense is not present, like they don't even know what defense is. Offense and defense lollygags around and has no sense of urgency. The only saving grace is they do know how to bleed the clock to make the other team not score so much, and I see this trend continuing with Massachusetts. Massachusetts does poorly against Missouri. To put it simply, Massachusetts football downright sucks and is the epitome of what terrible football is. Before going further, the pros favor Missouri to defeat Massachusetts by 43.5 or 44 points. The over-under is 56 or 57. Missouri did have a struggle over South Carolina last week, and I put the offense and defense slightly below average due to lack of red zone protection and not executing pass plays better. I do think Missouri will come out of struggle mode and have a nice lunch when they eat Massachusetts out of their ability to play good football. I do agree with the pros on Missouri winning this game over Massachusetts, but I disagree on the margin of victory. I actually think the margin could be higher and very well possible that a goose egg 0 occurs for Massachusetts in scoring. I will go Missouri wins the game by 47 points, and I'll go under the 57. That's my thoughts on the Missouri-Massachusetts game. It's that bad. Last game within the top 25 we will look at this week is number 25, BYU versus Colorado. In this game, the pros favor BYU to defeat Colorado by 6.5 or 7 points. The over-under is 47.5 or 48. Colorado, it's hard to tell which team is going to show up. Colorado had its moments where they go on all cylinders and do well on offense and defense to be that average team. Other times they sputter and are below average on defense due to lack of red zone protection or even protecting the line. If they can keep teams from getting inside the 20-yard line, they do well. Colorado, you either love them because they are doing well for the moment, or you're wondering how they suck so bad. They don't completely suck, but they do have their moments. Let's see, 20 is not a good number for Colorado, since the 2 games they've lost so far only had 20 points scored. The other time was on a win where the losing team scored 20 points. 2 out of 3 times, 20 does not do Colorado any good. On a bright note, they do have good execution of plays involving special teams. BYU has had average football program this year. BYU rarely has average year, and whatever they're doing is working. BYU does need to work on the passing, but I believe they will. Really not much else to say on this game. I do believe BYU wins this game. For these reasons, I'm going to agree with the pros on this one. BYU defeats Colorado by 7 points. I'll go over the 48. Now that we've looked at the top 25 matchups, we will now go into a segment I like to call the Game of Intrigue. In the Game of Intrigue, neither team is ranked in the top 25. I try to find things related to both schools. This can be sports related or not. After going over how the teams relate, we will do just like in the top 25 analysis. We will look at what Vegas says is the margin of victory that will be along with the over-under. If I agree or disagree with the pros, I'll do the best I can to explain my reasoning. So the Game of Intrigue this week is Duke versus Syracuse. Again, both teams are not ranked in the top 25. Both teams are in the Atlantic Coastal Conference, or ACC. Both schools have at least 2 wins so far this season. Both schools will have played Clemson at some point. Both schools have at least 300 student clubs and organizations students can take part in. Both schools are generally not known for their football, but much better known in basketball. Both schools have at least 17 team national championships through all their sports. Both football teams in their overall history both have at least 500 wins collectively over all the teams they've played. Both schools have had football programs in their schools for over 100 years. Both schools have strong emphasis on liberal arts. Outside of relating the schools together, the pros in Vegas have their own thoughts regarding this game. In this game, the pros favor Duke to defeat Syracuse by 4.5 or 5 points. The over-under is 60.5 or 61. Syracuse did beat powerhouse Clemson in their last game. The offense was slightly above average, mainly because of how they showed how to run the ball. Passing short and long seemed okay, but does need work to be more effective. Defense held strong in red zone protection. This by itself makes it hard to truly defend or play against. Duke recently has been below average on defense due to allowing too many points to be scored and lack of red zone protection. Offense is below average due to struggle in rush and long passing. It's been average on short passes. I believe Duke looks better on paper over Syracuse despite their struggles. With these thoughts, I'm going to agree with the pros on this one. Duke defeats Syracuse by 5 points. I'll go under the 61. Now that we've talked about the Game of Intrigue, now let's just summarize what we've already talked about today. So first of all, the AP poll top 25 for this week. Number 1, Ohio State. Number 2, Miami and Florida. Number 3, Penn State. Number 4, LSU. Number 5, Georgia. Number 6, Oregon. Number 7, Oklahoma. Number 8, Florida State. Number 9, Texas A&M. Number 10, Texas. Number 11, Indiana. Number 12, Texas Tech. Number 13, Ole Miss. Number 14, Iowa State. Number 15, Tennessee. Number 16, Georgia Tech. Number 17, Alabama. Number 18, Vanderbilt. Number 19, Michigan. Number 20, Missouri. Number 21, USC. Number 22, Notre Dame. Number 23, Illinois. Number 24, TCU. Number 25, BYU. The top 25 matchups this week for Week 5 of college football. On September 26th, 2025, you will have number 8, Florida State versus Virginia. Number 24, TCU versus Arizona State. All of the other games that we talked about will take place on September 27th of 2025. And in that, you have number 16, Georgia Tech versus Wake Forest. Number 21, USC versus number 23, Illinois. Number 22, Notre Dame versus Arkansas. Number 18, Vanderbilt versus Utah State. Number 1, Ohio State versus Washington. Number 4, LSU versus number 13, Ole Miss. Number 9, Texas A&M versus Auburn. Number 11, Indiana versus Iowa. Number 15, Tennessee versus Mississippi State. Number 14, Iowa State versus Arizona. Number 3, Penn State versus number 6, Oregon. Number 5, Georgia versus number 17, Alabama. Number 20, Missouri versus Massachusetts. Number 25, BYU versus Colorado. The following teams do not have games this week due to them being a bye week. Number 2, Miami and Florida. Number 7, Oklahoma. Number 10, Texas. Number 12, Texas Tech. And number 19, Michigan. Again, all have a bye week, so there's no game scheduled this week. The game of intrigue that we talked about was Duke versus Syracuse. Now that we have summarized and finished summarizing who is in the top 25 and their matchups, let's look also this week at who else is playing in college football with no additional analysis. So, on September 25th, you have Army versus East Carolina. On September 26th, you have Houston versus Oregon State. All other games will be on September 27th of 2025. Those games on the 27th include Rutgers versus Minnesota, Louisville versus Pittsburgh, Cincinnati versus Kansas, UCF versus Kansas State, South Alabama versus North Texas, Bowling Green versus the University of Ohio, Eastern Michigan versus Central Michigan, Georgia Southern versus James Madison, Arkansas State versus UL Monroe, UCLA versus Northwestern, California versus Boston College, Baylor versus Oklahoma State, Utah versus West Virginia, UConn versus Buffalo, San Diego State versus Northern Illinois, Rice versus Navy, Akron versus Toledo, Lindenwood versus Miami and Ohio, New Mexico State versus New Mexico, Tulane versus Tulsa, Hawaii versus Air Force, Middle Tennessee versus Kennesaw State, Liberty versus Old Dominion, Rhode Island versus Western Michigan, Virginia Tech versus NC State, Jacksonville State versus Southern Miss, Western Kentucky versus Missouri State, Memphis versus Florida Atlantic, Washington State versus Colorado State, San Jose State versus Stanford, Appalachian State versus Boise State, Kentucky versus South Carolina, Marshall versus Louisiana, and Louisiana Tech versus UTEP, or the University of Texas in El Paso. Do y'all have any questions or comments regarding my picks and thoughts for the top 25 this week for Week 5 of college football? If not, I do thank you for joining me for this live broadcast today. I am broadcasting live, and it is my top 25 picks, my perspective for Week 5 of college football. If you will, please hit the like button, please hit the subscribe button, please hit the notification bell so you can be made aware of when I'm doing these live streams, when I have sports action videos, when I have sports education videos, again, when I'm broadcasting live or when I have breaking news in the sports world. If you wish to subscribe to the channel, it is greatly appreciated. You can do so in two ways. One, you can go to www.youtube.com, the slash symbol, the at symbol, SPORTSLOV, or you can go to the YouTube search tab and type in Sportslov, SPORTSLOV, Media, MEDIA, that's two words. You can find it on the search tab. You'll know it's me because I have Sportslov Media burned into a basketball as an avatar. I'm also on Twitter X. My handle there is at BobAmin16. That's the at symbol, BOBAMIN 16 for the Twitter X. I wish to thank you again for joining me today. We will continue to do these college football live streams once a week, generally on Tuesdays. In terms of what time on Tuesday could vary from week to week depending on what's going on, but it will be a weekly thing that goes on. We'll cover all of the regular season games. We will do the playoff games. We'll do the Army versus Navy game. We'll do the bowl games. And we will have in-depth analysis all the way through the semifinals. And then when it comes to the national championship, that will be a special live stream in and of itself. Hello there to, let's see. Hello, Josh. Thanks for joining me today. I do greatly appreciate you. Any questions, comments regarding what I've talked about in college football? Well, if not, thank you very much. I'm Sportslov Media here on YouTube. And I do thank you for joining me today. Sportslov Media signing out.